Hey there guys, this is Richard, your host, with another marvelous video. Stargirl is the newest hero to carry on two illustrious lineages while being a relatively new comic book character, yet some fans might not be aware of her origins or abilities. She is, however, the ideal lead for a show like DC Universe's Stargirl, which will for the first time make Stargirl and the other members of the Justice Society of America known to the general public and is based on family and historical themes. Even though Stargirl is a lesser known superhero from DC, that doesn't make her any less significant. In July 1999, Courtney Whitmore made her comic book debut in Stars and Stripe, issue number 0. So, let's learn more about Stargirl as we explore her origins in our video today. Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin. Stargirl origin from live-action TV show. The first Stargirl season's episode, pilot, debuted on DC Universe on May 18th, 2020. It all starts in a flashback from the holiday season 10 years prior, where Pat Dugan hurries through deserted streets while trying to contact Starman. Despite Starman's warning, Pat bursts through the front entrance of a cliffside home, aflame with green lights inside as an epic fight rages. Pat enters the castle, where he starts dodging electroshock bolts as the wizard levitates Hourman to halt a battle between Tigress and him. Before the wizard focuses on Pat, Hourman is knocked to the ground and seriously hurt. The wizard is rendered unconscious by Starman, who then fights Tigress and Sportsmaster until he beats them with his staff. Starman doesn't see Brainwave till he's flying through a whirlpool of debris. Starman points his staff at him, but the Brainwave blocks his strike with a metal shield. The battle continues until a light beam strikes Brainwave. Starman turns but is struck in the chest by an ice dagger, falling to the ground. As his sidekick helps him to go to the car, he pathetically says to Pat that the Justice Society of America is no more. Solomon Grundy follows, and as he gets close, Pat hits a button taking off as Solomon collides with the rear. An engine fails mid-flight, causing the automobile to crash into some trees. Before it explodes, the two guys flee. Starman insists that it is the end game for him. He informs Pat that the JSA must endure and its legacy must thrive, but Pat cannot bear it before parting ways. On the other hand, young Courtney Whitmore is gazing out of her window over Los Angeles. She sobs to her mother, pleading to see her father. Barbara assures her that she knows and understands before leaving. Present day Courtney, a teenager, is getting ready to move when she notices the identical gift for her dad. Mary mentions her new father, but Courtney firmly insists that he isn't her dad and that they are moving to Nebraska. Before Pat's arrival outdoors, the two girls' somber hug is interrupted. Mike, Pat's own son, is there as well. Mike is astounded by the enormity of his new place as the mixed family and their movers reach their new residence. The movers start handling a strangely long trunk and divert Pat's attention by saying it's delicate. Courtney observes a package marked auto parts. After that, the four enter the town center and are welcomed by the locals as they come upon Rich's, the restaurant where Barbara and Pat first met 2 years earlier. Pat secretly sneaks into the basement at night and opens a trunk containing confidential and top-secret JSA information on the ISA members, while revealing a map of Blue Valley that has been strongly highlighted. The following day, Pat picks up Courtney to take her to Blue Valley High School for the first time as she texts Mary. He introduces himself by sharing a narrative about growing up in a mobile household and discovering his dad as his greatest friend. When they get there, Pat annoys his stepdaughter by wishing her a good day. She treads carefully toward the school office in the congested corridor. Courtney has a miserable day at school when two jocks approach from either side. The jock with the red head snatches her phone, inquiring if she has anything on her. Courtney pushes him, resulting in him running into a cafeteria employee and dumping a lot of food on the ground. The principal instructs Courtney to accompany her, and she's sent to detention alongside the guy from the desk and misses her bus. At dinner, Mike joyfully discusses his first day and how he rapidly made acquaintances, asking if he might visit one of their homes immediately. Barbara inquires about Courtney's day. Pat adds his 2 cents, which makes Courtney snarl that he's not her father. She hurried to the basement to cool off after being enraged at her stepbrother for microwaving marshmallows. She comments on Pat's lameness after seeing a photo of him fishing, but notices an old photo of the defunct Justice Society of America underneath Pat's picture. She uncovers a newspaper story while searching through the framed photos and, puzzled, learns that her stepfather is a sidekick. She discovers the JSA files when she sees the old box along with Starman's autographed photo and his old suit. After hearing a disturbance behind her, she notices light emanating from an old trunk's edges and burning out the light bulb right next to her. She approaches it cautiously and lifts the lid to reveal the cosmic staff. She takes it up and it sparkles, but she releases it as she's scared. She lifts it up more securely again after ensuring her hands are good and notices a globe of light shifting position as she adjusts the staff. She lets go of the staff, but it stays in the air. To her surprise, she brushes off her uneasiness while the crew stays still. While she moves the globe of light with her palm hovered over it, she finds it difficult to maneuver the staff for a short period. Once freed from its impasse, the staff begins to warble and move on its own, pulling Courtney from the cellar to the entrance of the American Dream building. When she inquires about its state of life, the staff and its holder take off into the air. When Pat gets home, she returns the microwave to the basement and notices that the cosmic staff is gone. When Courtney wakes up from her crash landing in the woods, she realizes she's watching The Goonies in a drive-in theater. To her chagrin, she observes Henry King Jr. and his jockmates irritating moviegoers. She then sneaks up to Henry's car and uses the staff to rupture his tires. When one of his pals spots her, the staff is purposefully thrown into his torso, knocking him to the ground. Before the staff sets itself horizontally and lights brightly, it blinds Henry and his other buddy. Henry recoups before launching another attack. She is spun into the air by the staff, tripping Henry. When the other friend gets up, the staff returns to strike Henry right in the face before leaping forward to knock the other lad over the head. The staff directs a laser beam which causes the automobile to explode. Henry says his dad will murder him as Courtney reprimands the employees and flees. To return the staff, Courtney manages to sneak back home, but is discovered by Pat, who warns her that it's incredibly volatile and hazardous, and to his amazement, he discovers that Courtney has blown up a car. She emphasizes that the employees did it. When he requests the staff, Courtney withdraws. He identifies the object as Courtney wonders what it is as he grabs the staff, turning off its illumination. Pat claims that Starman is the only one for whom it is designed to function. After asking, Courtney discovers that he and the JSA passed away on Christmas Eve 10 years ago. Invoking that particular day, Courtney asks whether her mother knows his background, to which he responds that she doesn't. Courtney is not paying attention as she examines a photograph of her dad in her pendant and observes how similar he is to Starman. She wonders how the staff could serve her if they were just serving Starman, and she surmises that Starman may be her father. Pat is perplexed and remarks that it is an incredible coincidence that Starman passed away the same evening her father vanished. She says, "My father never came up that night because he died defending the world." Pat informs her that Starman's true name is Sylvester Pemberton, while she claims his name had been Sam Curtis. Pat makes the case that Starman is not her father. Meanwhile, Courtney turns to her mother to ask a question as she chooses to hold onto optimism. Barbara is upset with Courtney's treatment of Pat upstairs. She informs her mother that Pat is not who she believes he is while refusing to accept her apology. Barbara resentfully replies that Pat is the only man who has supported them. When she calms down, she implores her daughter about what she was stating before, but a regretful Courtney alters her mind and departs. Henry Sr. instructs his son to recount what transpired at the king's home. Junior tells him of a luminous object that fired lasers, fire, or another thing. He scolds his kid and tells him they'll discuss it further in the morning. Senior shuts the door after him as he exits. Courtney returns to the Dugan Whitmore residence and approaches Pat on the porch, making a comment about his former identity, Stripesy. Courtney believes Pat was more of a sidekick than an assistant, which Pat disputes. He thought the JSA treated him with dignity. Pat responds that he took the photo when Courtney inquires about why he was not in the photograph. She claims she is unhappy that Pat kept Barbara in the dark about his history, but she doesn't want to disrupt their happiness. She will safeguard his secret, but only provided he stays away from her. Pat convinces her otherwise by arguing that everyone might be in danger. In a London cemetery, Henry King Sr. phones Jordan Markent to inform him that someone had attacked this kid with a luminous stick. Jordan is doubtful since he murdered Starman. Henry agrees, adding that this indicates a new Starman has discovered them and is pursuing his son. As he hangs up the phone, King Sr. reveals himself to be Brainwave. Courtney is startled from her bed by the cosmic staff as it enters her room. She asks the staff incredulously what it is doing, only to hear a warble response. Barbara shouts with concern, asking her daughter if she's okay. As her mother enters, Courtney grapples the staff out from beneath her bed, commands it to stay, and then returns to bed. Courtney investigates beneath her bed when her mother departs. However, the cosmic staff has already gone and unlocked the windows, pointing her outdoors. She reaches out to catch it while lamenting the chilly weather, but quickly pulls into flight. Brainwave studies the burned area where the automobile detonated at the drive-in movie while gazing at the night sky. Courtney falls to the ground from a building's peak, queries the staff as to why she was brought here. Courtney understands it and wants to practice again via a sequence of motions and warbles. She attempts to jump on it again, but misses and tumbles. She tries again and tips the staff, which drops in her hand. She grows more self-assured and leaps from the structure, riding the staff across the deserted road and right into the sky. Her happy moment ends when she's knocked off the staff by flying tires and lands on a mound of tires. She's abruptly yanked against the barrier behind her and hauled forward with enormous force. Reaching the staff, she doesn't recognize the source and rushes into the warehouse. She calls out to check if anybody is there and then notices Brainwave asking himself in his head who she is and the reason why she has the staff. She is asked why she is dreaming of her father by Brainwave, who claims to be able to detect her feelings of loneliness and isolation. The staff jerks and hits Brainwave beneath the chin in response to Courtney's pleas for help. Brainwave lands on his feet despite the hit and launches flying tires at her. When Brainwave vanishes, Courtney flees the warehouse in terror. She's then facing a big robot and anxiously aims the staff right at it. Amazingly, Pat's voice rings out, reminding her that he instructed her to avoid touching the staff. In the second episode, Stripe, Pat spreads out the robot's palm on the arm while Courtney cries for Stripe to just get off her and bring her to a safe place. Looking behind her, Courtney ascends the robot and grabs onto the hooks on its back. Before Brainwave leaves the tire warehouse, he glances down at Courtney's burnt school ID. Pat and Courtney take off high up in the air and escape. Pat lands behind his garage and ushers the robot inside. She lays the rod down after pleading with it for a moment after noticing her trembling hands. Pat inquires about her health, but Courtney wants to know about the robot. He explains that it's a prototype that he developed from salvaged auto components after Sylvester passed away. Pat insists that Starman was not Courtney's father, despite Courtney's question about whether or not her assailant killed her father. He claims that while Icicle, the head of the ISA, assassinated Starman, Brainwave killed several JSA members. Meanwhile, Joey hurriedly calls his mother Denise and father William at the Zarek home, saying he heard something below. William touches his wand, opens a hidden safe concealed beneath a painting, and goes downstairs. He comes upon Brainwave and questions him about his outfit. Henry hands him Courtney's ID and warns him that there is a problem. A female has Starman's staff, although Henry cannot answer William's question about where she obtained it. Henry promises to track down the girl, question her, and kill her before he leaves. He is too quick to grab his family and go at the first indication of grave danger, leaving the ISA right in the process. Henry reminds him in his head. He requests that the visitor leave his head. Pat informs her about Our Man, who made it back that night and tracked the ISA's activities from Los Angeles to Colorado to Nebraska to the Dugan Whitmore basement. Shortly after arriving in Blue Valley, he and his wife died in an accident. Pat met Barbara Whitmore when she continued Rex's studies here 2 years ago. He suspected the ISA had departed the town, or most likely the nation, because he couldn't locate their track. If the ISA continued to be in effect, he informs Courtney that he would never have relocated their family there. Courtney decides to go in search of Brainwave after seeing that he's in town for a cause. Pat declines, reminding her that back then, people wore costumes to safeguard their families, and that there might be a danger if he learned their true identity. Courtney concludes that she, too, needs a costume, but Pat informs her he's doing this on his own. Pat couldn't sleep, and it was the late hours of the night. Before hearing loud rattles upstairs, he takes up Brainwave's file and walks downstairs to examine the JSA's confidential material. He locates Buddy the dog on the cellar landing while armed with a hammer and informs him that they must get ready for a battle. The family gathers in the morning to enjoy the meal Pat prepared. When Pat arrives at the table, he's questioned about the source of his own wounds, but Courtney diverts her attention to the meal. After Barbara has left, Courtney abandons her good girl persona and admits she's not hungry. Takes the Starman suit after going down to the basement. Henry Sr. summons his son to come into his office. Despite claiming to be late, Junior unwillingly sits across from him. Sr. asks whether his offender was a girl and adds that he has a couple of additional inquiries for that evening. He brutally questions him once again if a girl roughed him up and his companion and wrecked the car while using her abilities on him. Henry Jr. explains that it might have been a female when his father settles down gradually. Courtney stealthily enters a sewing room at school to alter Starman's suit into one of of hers. Although she does a good job, she has several hurdles when the rugged materials used to build the suit shatter many sewing machines and pairs of scissors. Then, at the cafeteria, Courtney is concerned about the social fallout from what transpired the last time she was there. Dr. Henry King, Sr., Bridget's co-worker, enters the room, waves to Beth, and sits at the table behind Dr. Chappell. As Henry searches through a database of Blue Valley pupils, neglecting to glance behind him, she questions her daughter about the girl sitting beside her. Beth then introduces Courtney to her. Their video conversation ends when Beth says she will meet at the opening party. Beth offers Courtney an uneasy smile as she remarks on how wonderful her parents are. Henry is searching for the mysterious girl as Pat and Courtney are in an assembly listening to the principal's humorous address. They fail to recognize one another since they look the same direction. Henry Jr. laments to his father after the assembly that they never attend these things and questions why they are here. But Henry Sr. ignores his son and instructs him to get some juice. He scans the crowd, reading their thoughts, and discovers a blonde with curly hair conversing with Cindy Berman. He approaches the girl and, much to their embarrassment, turns to face her. In a frantic attempt to find Pat, Courtney leaves the gym and wanders down an empty corridor until Henry eventually approaches her. He calls her by name and learns by reading her thoughts that she is Starman's daughter. She says that he will pay for what he caused to the JSA and her father. He asks her to fetch him the cosmic staff, and while he attacks her mentally, he learns her mother's name. She is allowed to go after he threatens to kill her mum most excruciatingly if she doesn't fetch him the staff before midnight. Pat is located by Courtney, who urgently tells him what transpired. Pat catches Courtney trying to enter the basement covertly at night. She insists that she must confront him, but Pat warns her that doing so would be risky. She says she has been waiting for her dad to arrive her whole life, but the ISA and Brainwave have taken him away, and the cosmic staff is providing her an opportunity to seek retribution. Pat advises her to stay, and if he doesn't return by morning, Courtney must convince Mike and Barbara to abandon Blue Valley and never back. Stripe approaches a waiting Brainwave in the parking lot of Blue Valley High and inquires about his identity. Pat informs him that someone seeks justice, but he hasn't come up with a new name yet. When Pat receives a psychic attack from Brainwave, he is momentarily rendered unconscious. In response, Pat throws garbage at him. Meanwhile, Courtney packs her backpack and gets ready at home before going onto the roof and taking the cosmic staff into the air. To Pat's dismay, our heroine descends on the earth and introduces herself as Stargirl, claiming the robot in the background to be her sidekick. Brainwave gets up and raises two concrete beams, throwing them at her. She flips them over and hits them with the staff, knocking him right into the school sign. Pat and Courtney ultimately manage to defeat Brainwave. After Pat distracts Brainwave with the robot, Courtney manages to seize the staff and attack him. Resulting attack kills Brainwave. She claims that after taking out Brainwave, they can take out the remaining of the ISA and bring the fallen JSA to justice, and thus they begin their life against crime. Stargirl Cosmic Staff and her other abilities. Although Stargirl lacks superpowers, she is a skilled kickboxer and gymnast. She is incredibly adept at high-level hand-to-hand fighting. Stargirl can project shooting stars and has increased speed, strength, agility, and stamina when donning the Cosmic Converter Belt. Stargirl can fly and control cosmic energy when she uses the Cosmic Staff. Despite often being employed as an attacking weapon, the staff is also an effective defense weapon. The Cosmic Staff is so strong and energetic that it has the potential to harm its bearer. It truly emits exceedingly light energy. In the past, several Starmen have genuinely fought against the overwhelming strength at their disposal. Stargirl Comic Backstory. It starts with a star-spangled kid kicking a fool who appears to be a foot soldier wearing a robe with a spiky serpent in the first scene. Stripe smashes through the barrier to assist and warn our female character about the foolishness of stealing superhero accessories. A shift to a flashback occurs as a foot soldier tightens in a sleeper grip, and Courtney wonders how she got into such a situation. So we return to Courtney's first day in Blue Valley. Her mother had recently wed Pat Dugan, a new husband. Courtney looks fondly at her old annual book as the people talk about how amazing their new life would be. The action now shifts to Blue Valley High, where a few rotten kids will paint a billboard covered with Kid Flash with an insult to their principal, Sherman. Remember that Wally West lived in Blue Valley for a very long period. Anyhow, a pair of unsettling green gloved hands stretch out from a nearby maintenance hole as smoke starts to seep out of it. The lads are gone, the next thing that we know, and the billboard is covered with just that spiky, snake-shaped graffiti. The next morning, Courtney starts her first day at the new school. This school's corridors are crowded with adolescents, and it's here that we first meet Courtney's red-haired new companion, who will become her closest friend. Upon seeking directions to the classroom, a meathead bully arrives to grab some lunch money. Courtney strikes him in the face with a kick. Hunky bystanders Josh and his girlfriend with white hair streaks observe everything that happens. While his girlfriend scowls and pulls him away, Josh appears impressed. During lunch, Courtney and Kramer discuss how to dress patriotically for the upcoming Spirit Dance. She also mentions how recently several children whose whereabouts are unknown had vanished. Principal Sherman has arrived by this point and starts reading Courtney the Riot Act before escorting her to biology class. Josh's girl with the white streaks trips Courtney as they make their way to a table, and she lands squarely into Principal Sherman. She is forced into the principal's office, where she's tasked with writing a 1,000-word essay on tomato ketchup stains. After the last bell rings, Courtney leaves for home. She snarls at Pat before going inside. She wonders where her birth father may be as she stares at a locket in her bedroom that contains his image. In order to be just a nosy jerk, Pat tosses one of her boxes on her bed that was accidentally mixed up with one of hers. She discovers that Stripesy is actually her stepfather in this place. Her mother taps on her door to tell her she has a dental appointment the next day. Pat will supervise the spirit dance. We finally get to see Courtney wearing her American flag attire. There's a sudden explosion in the gym before he can persuade her to remove the belt. They are the foot soldiers shown earlier. Pat presses a key on his watch, followed by a blow to the abdomen. Despite being overtaken by an odd sensation, Courtney continues to kick. When Mary reveals the foot soldier's identity, we see that it's one of the previous spray painting youngsters. We now return to the story's opening, where Stripe crashes through the wall. A quarrel develops and we notice our elevated principal is unhappy with the happenings. As Stripe and the Star-Spangled Kid flee the dance, Pat accuses Courtney of stealing the belt. A mysterious stranger observes everything as it happens and releases a fresh herd of foot warriors. Cosmic Belt chooses this most unfortunate moment to go away. On the other hand, the gravity rod invented by wealthy scientist Ted Knight served as the forerunner of the cosmic staff. Ted could fly, project energy, and possess other helpful skills like Starman, thanks to the technology he utilized to extract star energy from space. Ted served as the protector of his homeland, Opal City, and a member of the Justice Society of America. Still, as he grew older, he resigned and gave the job and the technology to his oldest son, David. But after David was murdered in cold blood while on duty, Ted, who was distraught, suggested his youngest son, Jack, for the position. Kyle Nimbus, the youngest child of Jack's father's adversary, the Mist, was the target of his final fight, in which Jack employed a model cosmic staff rod made of depleting materials. The cosmic staff might serve as Jack Knight's trademark weapon throughout his time as Starman. His father, Ted, was always on call to fix, upgrade, or instruct Jack on how to use it, and offer guidance to the current guardian of Opal City, if necessary. At some point in his professional life, Jack ran upon Courtney Whitmore, the star-spangled kid of the time who took over for Sylvester Pemberton. Ted and Sylvester had collaborated in the JSA, and at one time, Ted had been preparing Sylvester to take over as Starman. Despite declining the offer, Sylvester continued utilizing Ted's technology until the latter's passing. Courtney, Pat Dugan's stepdaughter, had found the outfit and equipment. Ted joined Courtney and Dugan, fighting as the robot hero Stripe at the time, to defeat the Icicle, because he thought Courtney was an inexperienced and obnoxious superhero. Ted would eventually join Courtney in the most recent iteration of the Justice Society. Jack picked Courtney to continue on the Starman heritage when he decided to retire after watching her develop and evolve as a hero, and even having the opportunity to interact with and gain knowledge from the time-displaced Sylvester in one mission. Jack invited Courtney to visit him, gave her the cosmic staff and his trademark jacket and goggles, and assured her that his deceased father would have been proud of the choice, and that she would make a wonderful Stargirl once she was ready. Courtney eventually decided to officially alter her name to Stargirl, to honor both of the lineages she holds, the Star-Spangled Kid and Starman, following a sobering chat with her true father and a subsequent conversation with Pat. The cosmic staff has stayed in her hands ever since and has come to represent her in animation and live-action media. The floating, seemingly conscious cosmic staff and Pat's souvenirs from his time in the JSA and his work with Starman were found in the basement by Courtney Whitmore in Stargirl. In this iteration, Courtney takes over for Sylvester, who has taken Ted's position as the Starman of Earth 2. Jeff Johns, a DC writer, oversaw this as well as the character's other iterations. Johns based the character's design on his deceased sister, Courtney. Stargirl in Justice League Unlimited. She makes an appearance in Justice League Unlimited as a new Justice League member, with Giselle Lauren providing her voice. Stargirl frequently appears with Stripe. Stargirl, Jon Stewart, the Green Lantern, and Stripe are in Japan in the famous episode Chaos at the Earth's Core, fending off a huge turtle. After the operation, Stargirl accuses Supergirl of being a show-off, expressing her envy. They are brought to Deimos with Stewart and Stripe. Both females discover they have improved their relationship by the time they depart Deimos. In the famous episode Patriot Act, she makes another appearance in a key role. Stargirl, Stripe, Green Arrow, Vigilante, and Shining Knight fill in for Superman in a Metropolis parade while he is in another galaxy and unable to attend due to a parade commitment. Sadly, General Wade Eiling shows up there and confronts them. She is defeated, but Shining Knight intervenes to save her. She is seen leaving for the hospital at the conclusion. Stargirl claims that the staff is where her abilities come from throughout the battle. Stargirl is seen assisting in the last fight against Darkseid in the series finale.
I don't need any help to squash an ugly crab face like you.
Stargirl's marvelous appearance in other forms of media. The episode Absolute Justice of the TV show Smallville features Stargirl 2010. Along with other Justice Society of America members, Stargirl makes an appearance. Britt Irvin, an actor, performed Stargirl. Hope Levy voices her in Cry Freedom Fighters of Batman, the Brave and the Bold. To combat Mantis, she partners up with Blue Beetle. In Legends of Tomorrow, Stargirl appears as a Justice Society of America member. She first opposes the Legends, but eventually they work together. Stargirl makes a brief guest appearance in Justice League Actions Season 1, Episode 2, Playdate, as a playable character in Toyman's Game. Natalie Lander reprises her role as Stargirl in the Justice League Action television series. The lead character in the DC Universe series is Stargirl. Brec Bassinger is the person who plays her. She makes her television debut in Chemistry, Episode 3. She teams up with Firestorm, who is battling Hive while trying to win her favor.
I'm Stargirl. And that's my sight.
The Stargirl of all time. The Justice Society of America was the most well-known organization to emerge from what is now referred to as the Golden Age of comics, even though they may not have served as the world's initial superhero team. Although they are relatively unknown to the general public, their ranks include the first iterations of some of comics' most well-known characters, such as Green Lantern and The Flash. This is because they have spent most of the previous 7 decades either living on planets that are not part of the main DC universe, or metaphorically and literally suspended in limbo in the instance of one 1980s narrative. The cosmic staff appears to have a brain of its own and exhibits some level of sentience, similar to Doctor Strange's cape, which is an intriguing new twist in the series that was never present in the comics. The cosmic staff persists in persuading Courtney to take action. Still, it responds with considerably more ferocity than Courtney would want, such as by catching fire while she's just trying to damage a bully's car's tires. As Stargirl goes on, it'll be revealed why the cosmic staff reacts to her and won't function for anybody else. And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks, everyone.